Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor, I'm the man on the Silver Mountain and welcome back. I've just finished my video on averages and wages and I'm still running a little high on how frustrating this set of subjects is to me because I deal with it so often and I see so many people being screwed over by it on a regular basis. However, as a result of that, it got me thinking, most of the people that I talk to, especially the young students and younger people that I've worked with, they come to me to talk to me about their contracts. And contracts are a thing that you are much better off having with an employer than not, in spite of the fact that it binds you into things that you will probably hope never happen, and will probably, well, potentially won't happen. But it's also a thing that makes sure that that your employer does things for you in line with what they have to. Yeah, but that doesn't stop people from being fucked around and screwed over. I have been. I know an awful lot of people going in at entry level jobs that are minimum wage or just above, um, get can get really fucked around and screwed over by their employers asking them to do things, or certain clauses in their contracts, or possibly even parts of company procedure that they've just not been aware of. Um, and so I just wanted to give you just a couple of things that you can do that to try and help make sure that you don't get screwed over in your career and your work life, especially for people who are going into um, certain mainly corporate controlled industries, things like retail, things like sales, marketing, and so on. And so the first thing that really it comes down to without fail is read your contract. Read it cover to cover before you sign anything. Make sure that you understand it all, because if you don't read your contract and you just sign your soul away, then there's a good chance that there are parts of that soul you ain't getting back. And so, read it. If you have questions, ask them. If you're not sure even about the answer that you've been given, then, you know, do some digging first. Um, there's no You do not have to sign a contract just because it has been put in front of you. Um, the second thing that I'd say is that in most contracts, or at least in um, written statements of employment, which can sometimes substitute a contract, um, there should be a job description, or at least a description of the duties that you are expected to perform. Um, if you don't have that, don't sign it, because then potentially they can get you to do whatever they want. And also, potentially, those things that they get you to do will not be what you signed up to do. Um, there's no There's no reason to sign a contract just because it's put in front of you. Check that everything that needs to be there is there. By law, the third thing is by law, places that you will work have to give you a certain amount of holiday, certain amount of holiday requirement, and so on and so forth. And they will um, but they will also, in your contract, leave where they put down how your holiday pay, or if you get holiday pay, and how it will be calculated. Um, Make sure that you understand that. Make sure that you understand that the pay rate is correct. Because if you have signed up for a job for £8 or £9 an hour, and yet on the contract it says 7, and they just say, "Oh, it's fine, just sign it," then they are under no obligation to pay you, because you have agreed on paper in writing to the £7 amount. Um, so always make sure that you understand what is there and check that things are right. Um, Following on from that, make sure that you've got the right contract. There are three different kinds of contract. You've got your full-time, which are usually, I believe, usually classified as about over 30 hours a week. You've got your part-time contracts, which are anything from any kind of permanent guaranteed hours slot that isn't a full-time um, full-time entitlement, for example, someone who has a guaranteed 3 hours working period on a Sunday in a coffee shop, that's a part-time contract because they have a guaranteed time granted to them for them to come in and work. Then, unfortunately, as much as I hate these, you've got 0-hour contracts, whereby you are ultimately, you have no obligation to the business and they've got no obligation to you, but if they will ask you to come in, and then if you come in, then they'll pay you for what you do, and if you don't, then oh well, you've missed out on money. They are a miserable, evil way of getting people to come and do work for you, because they are almost, at least in my experience, they are almost exclusively treated as if the company is doing the person a favor, and they are not. They are asking you to come and do work as per a contract. They're not doing you a favor, you're not doing them a favor. There was an agreement, you both agreed, and that's the way it is. Do not let people tell you, do not let your bosses tell you that they are doing you a favor by calling you in for a shift, because all they're doing is honoring the agreement that was already made, but they still don't have to. I've seen companies where there have been a substantial list of people still on their books, still counted as employed by them, who I never saw, who were never called in for shifts. And the reason was that it was easier to keep them on the books just in case they happened to need them, than it was to get rid of them. But as a result, those people were always left in the dark as to whether or not they should or should not be counting on hours and money coming from that job, and it left them floundering, and it was horrible to see. But yeah, then one thing that isn't necessarily attached to contracts that is incredibly important, especially if you're going into a bigger company from the bottom, you are likely to get given an employee handbook. In almost every big corporation of one sort or another that I've worked for, I've been thrown an employee handbook. Read it cover to cover. There is no excuse for not doing so. They are usually maybe only about 30 pages long, but they include every single piece of information you need in regards to company policy, in regards to grievances, in regards to what you can and cannot have with you whilst you are working, in regards to what is expected of you as a member of the company staff, and things like that. Do not be caught out just because you have not been bothered to sit down and read 30 pages of usually very large print text. But anyway, those are my few tips in regards to making sure that you don't get screwed over by your place of work or by people that have given you contracts to sign. Make sure you understand it, because understanding and it's knowledge is power. If you have the understanding of the contract and the thing that you're signing up to and the place that you are going into to work, then you will not regret it. You will at least have a way of maintaining your work performance, maintaining your income, and ensuring that you are being treated as you deserve to be treated. And I'm not saying that anyone deserves any special treatment, but they do not deserve to be shat on from above just because they signed a contract that potentially allows people to do that. If you found this informative, then please subscribe for other videos like this. If you found this informative and helpful, then leave us a like. And if you're I got a question for you. How many of you have been screwed over by your contract, or not having a contract, or anything in that area? I know full well that I've bumped up against a number of times a number of different contracts whereby it's been the requirements of the business have called me in for huge numbers of hours that I didn't really sign up for, or at least I never expected as much. And I know full well that there are places that I've been that maybe I've not been on the contract of, been on a contract on the same contract as, sorry, but I've seen people get screwed over with 0-hour contracts especially. But yeah, tell me your experiences. I'd love to know. And now I'm going to try and calm down a little bit, because these videos have got me very agitated, as I'm sure you can see, and I'll see you in the next one.